What's up, everyone? Bran here from Bloody Breakdown, and today we're going to continue something I haven't done in a couple of months now, which is my series In Defense Of, where essentially I take something that I've noticed hanging out amongst the horror community, something I've noticed that maybe I enjoy or I enjoy parts of or I see value or merit in that generally a large portion or sometimes even a majority of the horror community doesn't agree with me. And I try to plead my case. I try to make my point. In the past, you can see on this playlist, I've done Scream 3. I've done the character of Dr. Sartain from Halloween 2018, and I've even done Jason Goes to Hell. Today, we're going to be talking about the Blair Witch Project, one of my favorite horror films of all time. But before we get into it, let me remind you all and do my whoring and shilling right here at the beginning, out in the open. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications if you like what you see here. And check down below in the comments, or no, not the comments, the description section. That's the right one. That's the ticket. And there's a link to my Twitter and the Patreon to support this channel. So if you would like to do so, that would be amazing. Do want to shout out Rail the Great, who is now a producer of Bloody Breakdown, by selecting that tier over at Patreon. So he is supporting this channel. I'm acknowledging that support. Thank you very much. Now a official producer of an amazing YouTube channel, if I do say so myself. So let's go ahead. Enough of that shilling. Let's jump right into this thing. So no matter what you feel about the Blair Witch Project, there's one thing you have to admit, even if you don't like the film itself, you have to admit the genius behind that marketing campaign. So the internet is in its infancy. You know, people, not everyone has access to the internet. Matter of fact, a lot of people don't. I'd venture to say around 1999 that there was a great deal of people who didn't even have internet access in their home, or you know, like I said, it's in its infancy. They utilized the internet. They utilized the fact that they had cast these actors in the role as their actual name, the way they went about filming this thing, the way that they, now granted, I was 12 years old when this film came out, but as a 12-year-old, even I, you know, knowing, you know, what is this, a snuff film? They're not going to put out a snuff film, are they? Come on. But in the back of my 12-year-old mind, I'm like, maybe they did. You know, like they even fooled me for a little bit. I knew full-grown adults that had the wool pulled over their eyes as a result of the marketing of this film. That's powerful. That's very powerful. And it led to a financial success. The film is one of the most successful independent films of all time. And like I said, a lot of that has to do with the marketing that went into this film that really went above and beyond to pull people into the theater. Not just based on the reviews that they heard when it made, you know, the independent film rounds, with the fact that, you know, and that's the thing, a lot of what I really appreciate, and it's hit or miss for me in the horror genre, but less is more sometimes. And you didn't really have to do a lot with the marketing for this one. You spin this thing as a true story. You make the film look as real as possible, especially in the promotional material, and off you are to the races. So I'll move on from the marketing. I think that's a point that pretty much anybody who knows anything about the marketing and the promotion of this film would agree. Like I said earlier, whether you like the film or not, you have to agree the marketing, the promoting for this film before its release was chef's kiss, immaculate. So what else do I love about this film? Well, I guess I can hit on the fact of what I just mentioned earlier. Less is more. Anytime you watch a horror film, for the most part, even in some of these supernatural ghost type films where you don't have to put anything on the camera, they do. And it's a for better or worse type thing. Sometimes you can really create some interesting movie monsters using practical effects or CGI. And that's great. It really is a visual of what has been hunting the protagonists through this film is cool. It is, and it's the norm. But I got to tell you, there's something very unsettling about that blankness, about nothing, about less is more, about not knowing. I mean, I'm a fan of Halloween because of the mask Michael Myers wears. It's blank, it's emotionless, it's an empty canvas for you to be able, you the viewer, to be able to put whatever you want onto that blank canvas. I'd say this is even more so of that. You never see an antagonist. You hear things. You think you may have seen something. You're not really sure. The way the film is made, you're really never even positively sure if it is a witch. Interesting thing to think about, but honestly, um, some of the subsequent sequels tried to make it look like, it's definitely a witch, and this is definitely the way we're going. But if you go back to the original 1999 film, there's never really any straight up indication that there's a witch after them, that there's some sort of a supernatural entity after them. None at all, in my estimation. Please let me know if I missed something here. But I mean, it could be something supernatural. It could be something in the real world, people messing with, and it's brought up in the film. It's brought up in conversation between the three actors in this film, the three characters. There could be people from the town messing with them. Not a lot of people knew they were out there, but they conducted a lot of interviews in the town. Who knows what it could or couldn't be? It. I love getting answers to questions. I do. Don't get me wrong. But I gotta say, not knowing what it was, not knowing who it may have been, not knowing even the theories that Josh and Michael lured Heather out into the woods to murder her. I mean, that's a theory that has made the rounds with some interesting evidence to back it up. So it's just it's so good. The less is more in this. It's amazing. Like I said, sometimes you can try to pull the less is more thing, and it's just really not effective. But I think this film has done it maybe better than any other film, at least in my lifetime, that I was able to go to a theater to watch it when it first came out and experience it along with everybody else. Yeah. And, that's another thing for me. Nostalgia does play a big factor as to why I enjoy this film. And I know a lot of people don't. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a part of this video series. But let's just be real. Nostalgia does play a factor for me enjoying this film. Like I said, I was 12 years old when it came out. It was actually one of the first handful of horror films I ever was able to go to the theater to watch. I think the first one may have been Scream 2 back in 97. But this was one of the first handful that actually went to the theater, sat down, and was able to watch. So yes, before anyone even says anything, I wanted to get that off my chest. Nostalgia does indeed play a factor. And if you did more of your maturation in the 80s, maybe this isn't your thing. Maybe it's more of a Jason or Freddy or something like that. It's nostalgia's real. It plays a factor in pretty much everything that we deal with, especially in media. So another thing I appreciate about this film, and it may sound shitty, but the way it was filmed and the way that the producers and directors got the performances they did out of these actors, maybe it was a little shitty. I don't know. I've definitely seen worse from like Kubrick, for example, in The Shining, how he treated I don't know why I'm blanking on her name, but the female actress, Shelley something or other. I don't know. I'm sure you'll all let me know in the comments. But I think you got a really legitimate performance out of these actors by just leaving them the fuck alone and letting them film it the way that I think it should have been done. As far as I understand, they came out and they gave them like a sandwich in the morning. Didn't even make contact with them. Like you wake up outside your tent, there's a sandwich, there's some notes in a film can as far as what you need to do that day. Very little interaction between the cast and the crew. I know if they wanted something specific, they'd kind of come out and, have a short dialogue with them. But the fact that these actors and the actress felt that sense of isolation really shows on the screen. I think that for these actors to really have not much else on their resume is a travesty. to me at least, because I think that, you know, a lot of people go back and they look at this film and they go, oh, look at this shitty, cheesy acting, you know, like the map scene, for example. But honestly, isn't that how human beings act? I mean, I recall in the late 90s watching this film, and, you know, granted, I'm a 12-year-old, but the dialogue seemed pretty real to me. The feel of the film seemed real to me. And that's another thing that kind of, you know, my 12-year-old brain, they wouldn't release a snuff film, or would they? Type thing. Um, I just really appreciated that. I think Mirik and Sanchez did an amazing job of handling their talent in this film, and I think they got the best performances out of them that were absolutely possible. I like the sound work in this film. I like some of the small nuances. For example, one of the last nights they're in the tent. I think it was the last night that Josh was there on the movie. You hear these things outside the tent. You hear the sound of children playing. You hear these weird, otherworldly growls. Um, I really like the sound in this film. Just I don't know if it's the ambiance, the sound of the woods that echo with everything. A stick cracks, and it's, you know, that small echo. Like a lot of things in this film that weren't scary to me before watching it were scary afterwards. You know, I was 12 years old at the time. A lot of times I'd go off, and there were woods near where I lived. I'd go off, you know, play in them, come home, whatever. That didn't happen for a while after I watched this film. That didn't happen for a while. This film was to the woods what Jaws was to the ocean, in my estimation. At least it was for me. I don't know. You know, I'm sure it was like that for other people. I've heard these stories, but for me, it definitely was, for fucking sure. And while we're speaking of the sound, there really wasn't much of a soundtrack to speak about, obviously, in this film. However, there was a score at the end of the film when the credits roll. And to me, that is one of the creepiest goddamn songs. I don't know what you would call it. It was just a collection of sounds. I don't even know how to put it, honestly. But to me, and I can't even just say this as a 12-year-old. I know I keep harping on my age when this thing came out, but I watched this movie a couple of weeks ago. And when the credits roll on that ending, a combination of the ending and the music that is played during the credit sequence gives me goosebumps. To this day, it's one of the most chilling sounds and / songs I've really ever encountered in any horror film. And that kind of brings me to the ending, not the ending of this video, even though it is, but the ending of the film. I think it was, I've seen a lot of the retakes that they made, the recuts, the reshoots, where they tried to make it more eventful and more of a big thing at the ending. Big ending. Let's go out with a bang. But what they settled on was a lot less showy and a lot, for me at least, a lot more scary. I think the ending we got is a lot more scary than anything that is reshot that you can see up on YouTube, by the way, all the alternate endings that they were thinking about going with. And I think the one that they have in the film is the original. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I believe that's the case. And it's just a chilling ending. It goes along with the whole thing of the film about less is more. You don't really see anything. It's very scary. It's very tense. That house springing up literally out of fucking nowhere. Hearing Josh, Mike standing in the corner, kind of like we had heard what Rustin Parr would do to the kids. He'd kill them one by one, make one face the corner while he killed the other. This film established a lot of things in the universe and then called back to them later on in the film without even putting it in your face. So unless you were paying attention, you might not have even noticed it. And I think the last thing that I really want to talk about, as far as in terms of why I love this film so much, is this film has had 2 sequels. The first one pretty much bombed, Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2, which I believe could have been better than what it was. And I'll be doing a bloody breakdown, in-depth review on that one very soon, hopefully by the end of the month, fingers crossed. And, you know, it wasn't what it should have been. I think it's better than most people give it credit for, but it's not a film that's remembered. In 2016, I believe, was when Blair Witch was released. And, kind of pretty much more of the same. Most people aren't going to really remember that film. So this film has had 2 sequels in 20 something years, and or approximately, or yeah, we're around that. And it's still remembered. Not the sequels, this one, the original one. No one really remembers anything that came after the original one. This one by itself, with no franchise, is fucking amazing. And that's the thing. This small independent film went on to make so much money, critical success, 2 sequels, 3 or 4 video games, comic books, documentaries about a documentary. And it people don't remember this, but this film really took off for a long period of time. I'm not just talking about the end of the millennium. Like, I remember the video game still being pretty strong in the early 2000s, even mid 2000s. So I think it speaks to the staying power of this film. And I'll be honest with you, I just talked about how the sequels never really came to fruition in a way that was quite as good as the original. And I know that's kind of typical, but there are sequels that do compete and even surpass their original at times. I think it's possible to do it again, but I think you need Mirik and Sanchez, the directors of the original, to do that. And I think that you would need to capitalize on something else that is in its infancy that could really be big. I think it's possible to do again, but it would be very difficult. And I don't think you're going to do it just trying to rehash like they did with the latest one. So yeah, those are just some of the reasons. I could talk on this probably for hours, that I appreciate Blair Witch Project. And I'll tell you, not only do I love this movie with a passion, it's probably in my top 5 favorite horror films of all time. And I know a lot of people that hate this film just cringed hearing that. But I want to know what you all think down below in the comment section. If you love this film, let me know why you love it. We could probably bond on that. If you hate this film, tell me why you hate it. Maybe we can have a discussion. Maybe it's something I didn't touch on, and we can talk down in the comment section below. So yeah, with all that said, leave a comment. Like it if you've enjoyed this video. Let me know by leaving a like. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you haven't already done so, because I've noticed looking at my analytics, there are a lot of people watching this channel that are not subscribed to it, and that's just a goddamn travesty. We need to remedy this right now. Go ahead, subscribe, turn on notifications so you know whenever I go live and upload. And also check down below in the description section. There's a couple of links. You can follow me on Twitter. The link is there. Or if you just like to go from here, that's @bloody_brand, as well as my Patreon, where I just got a brand new patron in the producers tier, Rail the Great. So thank you for that. Just want to go ahead and throw that out there, acknowledge them as a producer of this amazing content. Thank you very much for your contributions. And yeah, that could be you as well. I could be mentioning you right here on this video, acknowledging you as a producer of this damn fine content here at Bloody Breakdown. All you got to do is click the link down below, support what we do here. It's much appreciated. So once again, with that said, let me know what you all think down below in the comments. I'm Brand from Bloody Breakdown, and we'll catch you all next time.